Now, this is the oral history of Ann Carey, who was a receptionist in Ranks from 1973 until the closure in 1983. So, Ann, what was the nature of your work when you worked in the mill?
I meted and we were in the front office. When I started working there, there was another girl called Ann Foley. She trained me actually, and she was very good. And basically what we did was we operated, it was like a telephone exchange. We used to call it Spaghetti Junction because it was the old-fashioned way where you had, you plugged it into the socket and then you switched it. And if you look at any of the old films, you'll see the type of thing I mean.
And you took us to the whole factory that way.
So we answered all the calls coming in, and I remember there were, we had 13 lines and something like 99 extensions.
And how many of you were working for those lines?
Two. Yeah. I actually ended up working it on my own eventually. Oh, I'm telling you, you really had to have your wits about you. So we took all the incoming calls and we transferred the calls to the various extensions. Yep. And we also then had a paging system, which was like a box, okay? And if somebody wasn't answering their phone, you just press this little buzzer down and you called them to answer their phone. We also met everybody coming in to the office, obviously, and people who would be coming in looking for people in the mill. So, that's what we were doing. That's what was the nature of our job. There was no administration, there was no paperwork involved. It was just interacting.
Phone calls, interaction
with the public.
You must have met everyone.
We most certainly did. And Anne then married and had a family, so she left, and she was replaced by a girl called Mary O'Connor, who is now Mary Nolan, and she's a very good friend of mine to this day. And indeed, I've met Anne as well subsequently.
Yeah.
And so that was really the nature of what I did. But it's actually how I got the job might be of interest.
How did you get the job?
I worked previously in a place called Cannock's. Now, Mary, I think you're far too young to know where Cannock's was, but it's where Penny's now is. That was a department store.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked there in the accounts department, and I didn't really like it at all. Wasn't very happy. Didn't think it was what I wanted to do. I had left the civil service in Dublin actually to come down to that job because I hated the civil service. But anyway, and so I wasn't very happy there. But there was a man called John Elwood who was my boss and knew that I would prefer to be doing something else. And he was actually leaving, and he said to me that a man called Jack Hawke, who was the manager down in Ranks of the office, was looking for a receptionist, and was I interested? Now, I'd already been trained on this telephone type exchange that I explained to you, so at least I had the advantage of that. And that was on a Monday, and he said, I've arranged for an interview for you in the afternoon. Now, I was wearing a trouser suit, and as you probably know, in those days you didn't go for an interview wearing a trouser suit. There was a girl called Anne, another Anne, working with me, and she had a lovely skirt suit on her. We were the same size. So we swapped clothes.
Brilliant.
And I went marching off in Anne's beautiful suit. I didn't know where Ranks was, so I had to ask a couple of people along the way, because I'm from the country, you see, so that's, so I didn't know, so asked a few people, found the place, met Jack, did my interview, came back, and an hour later I had a new job.
Brilliant.
I went, and my parents didn't even know about this, because obviously in those days we didn't really have a phone at home.
Yeah.
So home I went, and I said, Mum, I've got a new job, and I'm starting work next week in Ranks, and that was it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And it was great.
And you said now about the trousers and that. Was it different for the women working in the Ranks mills as opposed to the men? Would you say there was much difference?
No, but it was. Things were different insofar as that you called your manager or your boss was Mr. Hawke, or Mr. Manning, or Mr. Kershaw. It was quite formal in that respect. Probably not as formal as they had been. It was beginning to change. In that the formalities were still there, and you didn't certainly call them by their first name. Even socially, we didn't. You could have had, I suppose, but we just didn't. In terms of dress code, of course you had to dress properly, especially us because we were meeting the public. So, but I mean, there wouldn't have been like jeans or anything like that, Mary, that we wouldn't have been allowed to wear. I was trying for so long to organise a uniform for the receptionist, but we never actually got it.
And were you involved socially with the mills? Was there much social life?
Very much so, because a couple of us got together. There used to be a sports and social club, and for some reason it had
Diminished.
diminished, and it wasn't actually happening, and it hadn't happened for a couple of years prior to my starting to work there. But a few of us got together. Bridget and Tony Clausey, who I'm still I'm going to their house for dinner tomorrow night, so they've been my lifelong friends, and we got together, a couple of us, and Bobby O'Halloran, Bobby was here today, and we decided we would try and revive it.
Yeah.
So we did. And I'll tell you something, it was the best thing we ever did. There was huge interest. We got the dinner dance going every year.
Yeah.
And that's some of the photographs that Edward has taken away with him there. You'll see who the committee were in that. So we got that going every year. And then, and then we got we activated the sports day, which was a huge event.
Yeah.
I mean, we had everything, long jumps, the whole works, the races, the different relay races, the wheelbarrow race. We were actually looking at the champion, because John O'Donnell and myself run the wheelbarrow race 3 years running. I have a trophy somewhere, I can't find it.
And where did you say, where did the sports day take place?
The Piershig GAA grounds at one stage. We had different venues, yeah. But it was a huge thing, like it took legs, it really did. And we had proper prize giving ceremonies and all the rest of it. This was well organised. I mean, we worked very hard at getting it done. And then we had trips away. We had, like, for example, we went on a trip to Achill, we went on a trip to the Aran Islands, and these were hugely subscribed,
Yeah, and would there been would everyone working there, I know there was probably people on the line working and there was in reception, everyone
this was everybody. It wasn't just, I was very conscious of that. There was, when I started working there, you could feel a little divide between the office and the mill, and I was so conscious of that. We worked hard to erase all that, and I think we did. Tony, for example, was an electrician in the mill.
Yeah.
Bobby worked down there as well. Albert Copus was the mill manager. The girls that worked there, we got very friendly with them. So everything was, we all went to things together. There was none of that craziness. And so that actually got everybody together. The social club got everybody together. Otherwise we mightn't have known people. Do you know what I mean? It was so big at one stage. So it certainly helped that. Yeah.
And how often would you meet once a week? Was the committee meeting once a week, or would you meet?
We'd meet. I think I'm trying to remember now. I think Tony here, as I said, he's our memory man. We wouldn't meet once a week. We'd probably meet once every 2 weeks. Yeah. We also launched an in-house paper, if you like.
Lovely. What was it called?
Shannon Mill's Diary. And again, I think Edward will probably have copies of it, because Tony had them at home. And I'm Madam Editor, and which was a joke, because we all worked on it together. Needless to say, huge contributions from everybody, and you had people like Paddy Fitzgerald, and you had Albert Copus, and all of those people who would have known the history of the mill, and they would have known of the goings on prior to us starting there. So they'd write stories and stuff like that. There were people wrote poetry, and then we had a social column where we had births, marriages and deaths and engagements even. So that, and then of course reporting back on the various social events.
So that
took off.
That must have been brilliant.
It was, yeah. I look back and I think of the things we did. That was
Did you do any work?
We did. Oh, we did indeed, yeah. So
you must have made great friends there. So.
Absolutely, and lifelong friends, as I said, particularly with Bridget, who was Bridget Murphy, and Tony Clausey. I mean, I'm godmother to their oldest girl, and did I sing at their wedding? No, I was at their wedding. I didn't sing at it. No. I sang later, I'm sure.
So if you were very involved, you must have known everyone and all the goings on. You must have gotten all the gossip and that.
Yeah, we did.
And would you said would have there been any relationships within the ranks of people who have gotten together and found?
Tony and Bridget, my friends, both worked there. Yeah, Bridget was the secretary and Tony was an electrician. In fact, they'll kill me now, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. We went on holiday together in 1980, whatever year Princess Diana got married. Can't remember. Anyway, whatever that year was, 1980, 81, I think. The three of us decided to go on holiday together. Now, there was no relationship except very good friends, us. at that stage.
The three of you, was
the
it?
three of us, yeah. It's odd number, but it worked because we were
Very
and
close.
still are very good friends. And we went on. Tony drove, fantastic driver, and we went on a tour of France, Spain, and Portugal. And I can tell you something: it's the right way. We went on a 3-week holiday, and we drove through the whole. It's the way to see the country. Don't mind your packages because you'll see nothing. And we went as 3 single people. We didn't come back as 3 single people though. My 2 fell in love in front of me.
Aww.
After having known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And subsequently got married. And have 2 gorgeous girls now grown up.
That's lovely.
Wasn't it?
That's
I love telling that story because I think it's a great story. Yeah.
That is really nice.
And we're very, how would you put it, discreet about it all, but I knew.
Yeah.
I just knew there was something going on. And, they weren't, it wasn't in your face.
Yeah, I suppose they didn't want you to make you feel like the gooseberry.
They didn't, exactly. And that's the kind of people they are.
Yeah.
So they did, fell in love
That's
and got
lovely.
married. I thought it was great.
And was there more relationships?
Oh, there
than
would
that?
have been, but I'm trying to think of who offhand. There probably were, but of marriages within. Again, I'll have to tap Tony for some more information.
He mightn't tap you anymore now. You see,
He probably not talk to me. Yeah.
And there was that time. There would have been a lot of strikes in various companies. Would you have any experience of?
Unfortunately, I was very involved in the union. I was a shop steward.
Oh.
Yes, and we didn't have the one strike that I was involved in. Closed the factory. Closed the place. Now, having said all that, we're not taking full responsibility
No,
for
obviously
that.
not. Yeah.
But it was a combination of a lot of things, and we went out. Unfortunately, we didn't have much of a choice at the time. There were things that were happening that we weren't in favour of, and there was quite a sort of the fallout, I suppose, with management. And
could you tell me some of those things? Or?
well, I can't really remember, except that they were trying to restructure, and the method of the restructuring wasn't fair as far as we were concerned.
Yeah.
And I suppose at this stage, in hindsight, the mill was beginning to lose money, and things really did need to be addressed. But again, we just could not meet in the middle in terms of negotiating it. We tried. I mean, it went on for days, in fact, weeks and months, and it still didn't work. And we could not agree. Excuse me, about the methods and redundancies and that sort of thing, as you can understand. And we unfortunately had no choice but to go on strike.
Yeah.
And whilst we were on strike, I came home on Friday evening, sat down and watched the 9 o'clock news and realised I was losing my job.
Oh. And was that soon before the mill actually closed?
It closed 2 weeks later.
So it was would you say it was sudden that you found out it was closing, or did you know it was coming for?
There was the writing
it was coming for a while. Yeah.
Unfortunately, you see, there was times that was in the early 80s, and we were heading into a recessionary times anyway, and
I suppose there was a lot of that at that time.
There was a lot of things going on, and it was a pity, and it was actually, I think it was a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's I really think it was a total tragedy, because the place was so synonymous with Limerick. I mean, it was part of the heart of Limerick, there's no doubt of it. Generations of people had worked there, like grandfathers, fathers, sons, but I think it was probably no longer financially viable anyway. Yeah, so that's what happened.
And with the atmosphere at work for those final few months, was it different?
Difficult. Yeah. Difficult. It was difficult because there were people obviously who didn't go out on strike, and there was a lot of, I suppose, blame being apportioned. I don't know. I sort of for the few weeks that we were there, we just put our heads down and worked, and that was it. But it was very sad, and to this day, actually, when I drive the Dock Road and I look up and see what's left, and it's still, because we really had fantastic times there.
Sounds like it.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was. There was great interaction. It was great. We met great characters. You know, absolutely great characters. There's still. I mean, as I said, it's amazing how you don't meet more people.
Yeah.
But so anyhow.
And what was the aftermath like then? Was it?
Oh yeah, it was awful really. Yeah, it was, because first of all it was like a family breakup.
Yeah.
Of those of us who hung around together, and those of us who were friends stayed friends. I mean, as I said, Mary O'Connor, now Mary Nolan, I'm still very friendly with her as well, you know.
Yeah.
So, and like there's like girls like Sheila McCarthy, Betty Bowman, Kitty Noonan, and you know I met them all the last time we were here in the town hall. It was just fantastic to see them again, you know. Honestly, it really was, because we did get on so well and we had such fun, you know.
Yeah.
So it was sad, yeah. It was sad, yeah.
And would you have seen, when you were working there, now I know you were on reception, but would you have seen any of the goings on in the mill? Would you have seen?
Not particularly. No, because my day was confined to that particular area, really.
And it was huge, I suppose.
It was. In fact, did I ever actually get to see it in working? I don't think so. I actually don't think I did, you know. I would have gone down to various places, and I went up to the packing area where some of the girls worked, Catherine Duffy and those, and Kitty Small, you know, and I would have gone up there all right. There's another girl, Virginia Slattery, a beautiful girl actually. We could have put them all into the Rose of Tralee, they were so good looking. But anyway, I'd gone down to see them, but I never saw the actual process of the mill. Yeah, how the grain was actually turned into flour.
You experienced none of the danger, so.
It was only afterwards I said I should have done that, you know, but I didn't. Sure, look, we were having too much fun.
Too much fun,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, enjoying myself. Yeah, I loved it.
I suppose you saw a lot of people come and go then, working there in 10 years.
To tell you the truth, the turnover wasn't that great in terms of staff, because once you got a job there, you were inclined to hold on to it.
Yeah.
It was, working in ranks was a good job, there's no doubt about that. You know, there were good salaries and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it was. So the turnover wouldn't have been huge. The only the only people might have left when they got, girls had a tendency to leave when they got married or had a family, you know, that sort of thing. But other than that, no, it's, you know, it's, most people stay there.
Yeah.
Look at me, sure, when I was turfed out, I'm probably still there.
And I suppose those years then you were coming into maybe the new modern technologies and that, did you see much change in the 10 years from when you started to when you finished?
Well, I did. Well, I did a bit, because I was telling you about the Spaghetti Junction thing and the old exchange. I was for years pushing to get a new modern
telephone.
Yeah, you know, one that would actually have buttons. Yes. And that, you know, so we eventually got it after much campaigning. Yeah. And 6 months later the place closed. No. So I didn't have much of a chance to use it. And it was lovely, you know, it was. But I mean, you know, when you look back, it was really, I suppose for the 70s, it wasn't that old-fashioned, but it was a lot of clerical work done. That wouldn't, of course, we had no computers or anything like that. No. Needless to say, you didn't have. So everything was done manually, you know, and that's why we had something like 40 people or more working in the office, you know. I can't remember how many we had down the mill. A couple of hundred anyway.
It's a lot of telephones. It's a lot of telephone calls.
And it was lovely when you can get someone to answer the phone. It was when you couldn't. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Go back to your dinner dances for a minute.
Yes.
You said about the formality in the factory. Would the management have gotten to these dinner dances?
Oh God, yes. Oh, absolutely.
And would you have lost any of the formality maybe after?
You'd be inclined not to.
Yes. I suppose it'd be better.
You're better off not to cross such a
line.
Yeah, exactly. Your boundaries, if you like. Yeah. No, I mean, because I was chairman of the social committee at one stage, or I'm not sure, I can't remember. But anyway, because I was, then you had to sit at the top table. Like, this is like going to a wedding now, you must remember. It was a top table. I mean, try it now and people tell you to get lost. And sitting at the top table, you would have the managing director beside you. So, you know, you didn't really eat your dinner because you were kind of, you know. But they were lovely in the main, you know. Yeah. One of the photographs gone there is one of me dancing with Canis Kelly, who would have been one of management, but an absolutely dote of a man. And I met him here in the town hall the last time. He hasn't changed. Totally affable, totally nice. The other thing, though, in relation to the social club, and I mentioned it to you earlier in the conversation, we used to put a float in every St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day parade, yes.
And would you get everyone involved in that? Would you try, or would you have to try and rope some volunteers?
Well, there was a guy called Don Whelan.
Yeah.
And Don, to say that the man was genius is putting it mildly. When it came to ideas about what we would present on the float and that sort of thing, Don was, he would have been a rep with us. This was what he did. I mean, ideally the man should have been an artist, in my opinion. He is an artist, actually. You know, that's what he. But he just didn't work as one. And he always, you know, arranged for the decoration of the float, and he arranged the theme and that sort of thing, you know. And Mary O'Connor and Bridget and myself and Catherine Duffy and a couple more would be placed on top of same. And off we'd go on a very cold March day, and we'd wear whatever costumes were appropriate.
What kind of themes did you have?
Well, there was one. In one of them, I was dressed as a French maid's outfit, holding a silver platter with a thing of flour on it. And I'm trying to remember what I have to do is root out the photographs, because I have them at home. And Mary Nolan was dressed as Little Bo Peep or something. So I think we were incorporating some sort of a nursery or something into that. The other ones then we were wearing long gingham dresses. And then another one we have kind of Spanish style stuff. So, you know, it's a bit like, it's so long ago I'm trying to remember the themes that we had. But I mean, it was beautifully done. In fairness to Don, I mean, you know, absolutely. I mean, he should have worked as an artist, to be honest with you. And off we go then with Christy Howard driving the lorry and us in the back of it. And we won a lot of top prizes.
We won a lot of prizes.
Yeah, for the entrance, yeah. The competition might have been great, but... Yeah, so it was a huge thing, you know. You started off at the up at where the army barracks was in Edward Street, and then that's where everybody gathered, and then or at the top of O'Connell Avenue, and down we'd go then downtown. Our little moments of fame.
And you said about family working in the mill. Did you have any family yourself?
No, I didn't. No, I'm from Maru, and so I'm from the country. So it was mostly, it was a lot of the city people who would have had families working there, you know, so I didn't. I was below in from the country.
And would you have said the years you were happy there, would you have preferred if it stayed open, or?
Do you know, Mary, if it had stayed open, as I said to you, I'd probably still be there.
Still be there,
yeah.
Still be there.
Probably still be there, yeah. But I moved on into the insurance industry after that, so big change.
Big change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And did you have any relationships yourself? Did you find any man?
No, I didn't. No, I was too busy
having too much fun.
Absolutely. No, did I ever go out with anybody from there? No, I didn't actually.
Okay.
No, not at all. So.
Trying to think now what else I had.
It's okay, you can edit this later.
Just trying to think of any other stories, kind of.
Do I have stories?
You probably have loads.
I do. What you call it? One of them that struck me is when we were away on the Aran Islands, the whole, you know, the social group.
How did you all get time off to go? How would you
go the weekend?
You go the weekend,
yeah.
And would all maybe 100?
Oh yeah, we'd have a coach load, you know, yeah. And we were on the Aran Islands this particular weekend, and we to walk from the pub. God help us, yes, we were in the pub where we'd have a sing song, because there were a lot of very good singers. There was a Ranks male voice choir who to this day I think still sing a mass in memory of the deceased members, and I was very, of course, nonplussed that it was a male voice choir, and I wanted to sing with them, but I did get my chance. I did sing with them. I did, yeah. We eventually broke that little rule as well. But anyway, the story in relation to the Aran Islands was we had to walk back from the pub, and the rain that poured down from the top of us to our bed and breakfast. I got absolutely drenched. I had one pair of jeans, the pair I was wearing. That's all. And the following morning they weren't dry. And Tony Classy, who was as slim as me at the time, let me have a pair of his jeans. And they fitted me.
Probably looked a lot better.
And we've mentioned of that in the when we were writing the sort of report of it later. It's mentioned in the in the magazine, the Shannon Mills Diary. So yeah.
And did you write yourself for the magazine?
Hmm?
Did you write yourself for the magazine?
Did I write?
Yeah.
I did social. I did the births and marriages and deaths and engagements and did the little.
So you did know everything.
Well, I got a lot of information. Yeah. I did.
And when did you eventually join the voice choir?
I did a mass for the deceased members of ranks, which they, as I said, I still think they do, and they allowed me to sing with them 1 year. I did the responsorial psalm.
Lovely.
So,
you were determined.
Yeah, because I sing, you see. So,
Yeah.
But they weren't letting me in. But I got there.
That's brilliant.
I know, they're a fabulous choir. I mean, we had some fantastic singers, particularly beautiful tenor voices and that. And a lot of the lads, I think, as far as I know, they still do it. Or maybe not at this stage, but they kept it up for a long, long time afterwards, Yeah, that was great, yeah.
Did you have any other committees you joined by the sports and the magazine and the choir?
I had to work in between.
You had to work in between, and
yeah.
Were you based in Limerick when you were working there?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
And did you live with anyone?
My sister and I shared a flat.
Oh, right,
yeah.
You didn't live with anyone inside in ranks?
No, I didn't. No, my sister, my sister who worked in the county library, we shared a flat. So yeah, and that.
You walked to work every day, so.
I did it. Oh yeah, I didn't have a car. I mean, who had cars in those days?
Yeah.
There was a story about it. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, sure, look, it'll come back to me again. I should be thinking about these before I came into you.
It's hard to get it all on the button.
It is really, yeah. No, I did. I used to walk to work. I'd walk down the Dock Road, and of course in the evening times you had to be careful because the Dock Road was famous for, don't you? We'd normally preferably have somebody else with you in case you got propositioned.
Lovely.
Yeah, so... Yeah. Go on. He's trying to think.
Think of things and then you can't think of them again. And when it closed, did you all keep contact? Did you keep your societies going or anything like that for a while? You just broke?
Just broke, yeah, exactly. Those of us who are still friends stayed friends, and so that was it was the end of an era, Mary.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt about it. It was definitely the end of an era. And as I said, so synonymous with Limerick, and as I said, with all the generations working there, so it was a bit of a body blow.
What was the atmosphere in Limerick itself like when it closed?
There was quite. There was
felt amongst
there had been an attempt prior to that, a couple of years prior to that, to close the place, and there was the politicians got involved. There was such a hue and cry that they decided. So it was struggling. There's no question that it was, but there was such a hue and cry about it that they continued to operate for another number of years, and then of course the strike. And then I'm not saying the strike closed it. I'm not saying that it didn't.
Yeah.
It was going to. This was going to happen anyway. It was just as I said, it wasn't. They obviously, it wasn't making money, and it was. Yeah, so it was a huge.
And was it just the one strike you were involved in?
Yeah, wasn't that enough?
I can just imagine.
Yeah, it's not very nice to be walking up and down a road with a placard, but I respect that people have to do it sometimes. You have rights after all as workers as well, and so mind you don't see many of them these days, do you?
No.
People are
so happy to have
work. That's just it. Yeah.
I suppose it was kind of heading into the same time.
Oh, it was. It was absolutely. I mean, we were heading into a recession then, and but certainly not as bad as the one we have now. But there you go. Yeah. I know there were there were good times, all right. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we'll get loads. This thing, as I said, is gathering momentum all the time because when it started, it was really Mr. Mercier's stuff that had been put together. Yeah. And I think it was Andy Lehan's son, whose name I can't recall now, started to kind of put this together. And then there was this thing, kind of an exhibition in the town hall here a while back, and there was such an interest in it. That's what has prompted this, I believe. And now I think it's going to get bigger and bigger because the more people are hearing about it, the more they want to get involved. Yeah. And like there's loads of memorabilia out there and loads of photographs.
There's loads of photos yourself anyway.
Yeah, I have. Actually, there's only some of them. Some I couldn't get out of the album because they've been stuck fast.
Photos just from social events.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're stuck, and I don't want to destroy them.
Yeah,
because they are. I mean, we have fun looking back at them when you see, oh God, look how thin I was then. That'd be you, Mary. To
can fit into some man's jeans. You mustn't have been.
Mary, that was then. I wouldn't try it now. I wouldn't try it now.
Where else did you go on your trips? Was it?
The Achill Islands we went as well at one stage. We went to Killarney, down around to Kerry and that, you know. Oh, we kept it. But Tony also organised, he was the instigator, I think, or at least he headed organising trips to the rugby matches. Now, the girls didn't go, it was the guys, right?
And was it that the girls just didn't want to go, or was it more
just a kind of
a man's
thing, really? It wouldn't happen now, because we'd all be on board, but especially if they were, it was the Triple Crown, really. It was the Triple Crown then, right? And like Tony would organise the flights and all the rest of it, and they would save up the money for a couple of months beforehand, and you know, so that was a big thing. That was so they'd go off to the various rugby matches.
When it got to the rugby, did the women have any women only groups or anything like that?
No, we didn't.
No, you were happy to mingle.
We certainly were.
Oh dear, yeah.
I think you have it all at this stage, have you?
I nearly had a lot of stuff anyway. Marriage stories, romance stories.
Romance stories. Oh, that's the story of it. Yeah, I think that's a lovely story. And I was privileged to be part of it. You know, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Did the three of you go on any holidays after that?
Did we do? No, we didn't. No, they were busy with married life then. And having their family and all the rest of it. But as I said, sure, I still see them.
Yeah.
They're lifelong friends, and you couldn't meet two better people, to be honest with you. You know, it's great that they're still there, and Bridget's an absolutely true friend, you know, as is indeed Tony. So, yeah. There's my little story for you now.
You've nothing else you can think of?
Not that I can think of. No.
That's no problem.
Some things are secrets as well, you see.
I suppose you have to respect that.
Okay.
Sure, might leave it at that, so.
Okay then. She got a good length of bed.
Yeah, perfect.